Hello dear CSU and IT Master students, welcome to week 3. This week we are still in the Virtualization Jumpstart course. My name is still Erdal Ozkaya and we got James back this week here. Welcome back, James. So, quickly about us. As usual, don't forget to go to our website, Facebook or Twitter. So connect with us in social media. Connect with me in social media, and let's come to the main topic. This week we are all talking about VMware. If you remember, in our first week we did talk about virtualization in general. I quickly compared Microsoft Hyper-V versus VMware ESXi. Last week we made such a deep dive on Hyper-V. Then from there, I did try to show you the virtual machine manager options. And this week, finally, we reached to VMware. Quick reminder, it's a level 200 course. We are not going into deep technical details. All what we want you to understand is how Microsoft and VMware virtualization works. If you want to get more, feel free to sign up to our master classes. When we say master classes, we are not just naming it master. It is an accredited university course by Charles Sturt University, Australian based. You can go to the website and gain the information from there. So, last week I showed you how you can create virtual machines in Hyper-V, and this week the term is VMware. So I'm going to show you quickly how you can create virtual machines, what you need for a virtual machine hardware, what is a virtual machine file, how can you deploy a virtual machine, and other details about virtual machine. In our original course agenda, we had cloud information, but if you remember, in the last 2 weeks I did talk enough about cloud. And for that reason, that little point, I changed it to the details about VM. I want to have some more cloud discussions next week. Okay, I think we all know about VMware, but what is this vSphere? It is an infrastructure virtualization suite that has lots of capabilities. As you can guess, the first one is going to be it provides virtualization. It provides virtualization management. It helps you to have your resources optimized. It gives you some application ability and operational automation capabilities. What else? It is using the physical hardware, as in Hyper-V, and it emulates the physical hardware to provide you a virtual resource to your data center. If you look carefully, this is how it works. You have your existing applications running in VMs. Then you have your future applications. You go by ahead to your VMware vCenter suite. In an enterprise environment, you can have vMotion, vStorage, non-shared storage, vSphere high availability, fault tolerance, data recovery, and I think you can read the rest. I'm not going to go one by one. Quickly have a look. This all is covered about in vSphere virtualization suite. Okay, what are the additions? Of course, as in everything, there is a standard, enterprise, and enterprise plus edition. The standard is giving you the standard virtualization options such as basic management, storage, and networking. In the enterprise option, you got your firewall, advanced settings, vMotion, NIC teaming, and etc. In the enterprise plus, they give you extra management and security features which you usually don't have in an enterprise or standard suite. Okay, you are a small business. Do you need enterprise plus? VMware says no, but I believe security should be inbuilt in every version. Anyway, we will talk about this next week when I compare both of the editions to each other. Okay, quick reminder. What was a physical machine? So, as you notice, for the last 3 weeks I'm talking about this. And the university has already requested the exam questions from me. To be honest, I did not write them. And the university wants it end of this week, which I'm going to my best to complete them. And here's your tip. So I saw a forum post today about exams. So you will mainly get questions from the things which I highlight or from the things which I repeat a lot, which are the things which is really key essential in a virtualization environment. So, in a physical environment, it's always difficult to relocate. Why? Because mirroring means downtime. Why? Because you are binded to a specific hardware and you can't just plug the hard drive out and put another hard drive and continue from where you are. That's why it's difficult to manage, as it requires physical maintenance and it might get you some hardware failures which can cause downtime. We talked about the limitation of the physical machine environment many times, as one of the most important limitations was application support. And we mentioned also that servers are physically individual. In a virtualization environment, relocation In a virtualization environment, relocation is much easier. It will help you to encapsulate into files, and it gives you the independency of physical hardware. Saying that, I should put a comma there. It is really important that you use certified hardware, both Microsoft or VMware, or even Oracle, Citrix, and the other virtualization manufacturers or vendors. They always have a minimum hardware list, a supported hardware list. Please don't just get lost in the marketing jargon like saying independent of physical hardware. No, it is dependent to some physical hardware, assuming it is on the list. If it's supported, yes, then you can have independency of the physical hardware. And to be honest, you already saw that it's much easier to isolate virtual machines than physical machines. It's much easier to do hardware changes compared to physical machines. And it will provide you the ability to support legacy applications. You now can have many non-supported applications working in the same environment. Of course, they are virtually isolated from itself. If you remember, I had some extra slides which I said it's not going to be covered in the exam, where Microsoft was giving many other virtualization platforms, and in week 2 I needed to highlight that we are doing server virtualization. So we are going to concentrate only on server virtualization as the last 2 weeks. Okay, how is this working? For the management and automation, you got the vCloud Automation Center, the vCenter Operations Management Suite, and the IT Business Management Suite. And all of these can be added into vCenter, Server, and Cloud Director. Underneath this, you got your vSphere, where you use your compute power. Then you have your network and security, where you can build your vCloud, or where you manage your security or networking option with An ESXi. Then you have the storage availability, the vCenter Site Recovery Manager, and the Virtual SAN. Alright, what are the user interfaces? Now you got the desktop, you can install the vSphere client, which will have the vSphere web client as well. So you can just use many different applications to connect to your vCenter server, which is hosted by ESXi host. So use any kind of operating system, browser, or application client to connect to your vCenter and manage it. Alright, how can you download your vSphere client? It's easy. All what you have to do is you need to go to the vSphere client, and from there you can just connect to your vServer, ESXi host, and download your client. To do that, either use the VM Center server installer, or you can just download it from the ESXi welcome page. Once you come to the Getting Started, you will have download vSphere client, which will help you to manage your virtual environment from all supported Windows system. Saying that, I know Windows XP 6.3 till I think Windows 8.1, all the operating system are supported. Okay, now you got your client installed. What do you need? Of course, you need the host name or IP address and some connection rights. As soon as you do that, you can log in into your VMware environment. Alright, beautiful. You connected in. What is next? As soon as you connect in, I would highly recommend you first to go to actually start with Getting Started. And Getting Started, if you remember, had that client option. Please make sure you read everything. From there, jump to Configuration. In the configuration options, you have your processes, memory, storage, networking, storage adapters, network adapters, advanced settings, power management, and software settings, where you can manage it. From your configuration, of course, you should jump to your processes. You can see your computing power. You can see your process sockets. You can see many different options where you can set up. The second important thing in my mind is memory. You should know how much RAM you got available and how much it can be shared through your virtualization environment. Do you get any questions so far?
No, Erdal, no questions yet.
Okay. Viewing the ESXi system logs. This is also important. Why? If something goes wrong, if you can't connect to your environment, all what you have to do is go to your administration. From your administration system dashboard panel, click in system logs, and from there, if you press export system logs, you can download the log where you can send it to VMware support or to your VMware administrator. I hope you will not face any issues, but if you do, this is one of the most useful options to learn. Alright, this is a little bit marketing. When I say marketing, licensing, of course it's important. These guys spend millions of dollars to develop a software. You should go license it, and VMware is highly recommending you to check your licensing options. Why it's important? For example, if you want to use vMotion, or if you want to use high availability, then you may, and it doesn't work. You have to make sure that you got the licensing available. If not, you should check a license key, which gives all your product features. Remember, in the beginning, we said there was 3 types of virtualization suites at VMware. The basic, the enterprise, and enterprise plus. Or the basic is called standard, to be honest. So, alright, let's start with an overview of ESXi. ESXi has the following ability and features. So, once you purchase it, you can, with 5.5, you will get a free version that can be downloaded of course, which is a very limited functionality. It comes with high security. It has memory hardening, kernel module integrity, trusted platform module. To be honest, this is one of the strongest points of VMware, a small disk footprint. And as at Microsoft, it supports SANs, USB, SD cards, or diskless host. Of course, not all of these are supported by Microsoft. I was just referring to SAN, LANs, and the rest. Okay, physical and virtual. To be honest, just before you ask, let me tell you, next week I'm going to mention what happened to my mouse. My pen doesn't want to come down. Okay, here. Next week I'm going to talk more about the comparison of these two products. So, sorry for that. Please leave your questions for next week in terms of ESXi versus Microsoft. Alright. We all know the virtualization environment is built in top of hardware environment. So, as soon as you got your hardware, as in Microsoft, you will need your hypervisor. In this case, this hypervisor is branded VMware. I remember first week we had lots of questions about hypervisors. I assume you all read it. If not, please refer back to the first 2-week recording and slides where we have lots of information about hypervisor there. Then you build your separate VMs. Each VM might have their own app, their own OS. They could be a clone each other, a replicate each other. They might replicate each other, or we call it vMotion. You got your web client, your vSphere client, your vCLI, which is scripting, which runs under vCenter or different management options. Okay, to configure your ESXi, it has its own BIOS. The direct console of interface, which is called DCUI, is very similar to your BIOS software in your computer. And it is working at the same mentality. So you're going to use it with a keyboard only. If you think about it, a BIOS is a software or operating system which runs your motherboard, where ESXi will run your computer to create your virtualization environment. As soon as you press F2, you can have a customization, logs. You can press F12 to shut down, restart your computer, and it even gives you the URLs to download and manage your tools. When you go to the options, as usual, we highly recommend you to set up a root password. We would recommend you to enable, or depending on your options, disable the lockdown mode. But keep in mind, it limits the host management to vCenter server and the user root access to the DCUI only. What was the DCUI? The Direct Console User Interface. You might see a multiple choice question or just an underline saying the empty is similar to the BIOS of the computer with the keyboard only user interface. So you might have to fill up the gap with typing Direct Console User Interface. So during the week I'm going to create a 10 question for the exam, okay? In that 10 question, it's going to give you some ideas how the real exam is going to look like. So, I had a forum post which was talking about the exam. To be honest, I don't want you to concentrate on the exam. You should be here for learning, for free learning. Exam is just the cream of the cake, you know, the strawberry at the top of the cake. Yet, if you learn, then you can pass the exam and you can show off your result. But the exam is no good if you don't learn. Even if you pass the exam and you don't learn, I mean, the certificate is not going to give you any job by itself. Your knowledge together with your certificate is going to give you a much better future. So that's why, please, there was a confusion. I was hiding slides first week. I had lots of requests to unhide them and not talk about them. Please try to learn whatever I give to you. The URLs, the extra options are only for you to explore your knowledge. Do you have to read it? Definitely not. But it is for the people that want to learn more. The exam is in only what you see in the slides, excluding PowerShell or command line options. So the exam is basically on a level 200 knowledge. And I usually mention or put some notes. This is not in the exam. But in this case, this is in the exam. It was just an example. So back to the topic. You can configure a management network. You can set IP addresses if you have access to your network. When I say network switch, sorry. You can configure a keyboard. You can have troubleshooting options. You can see the system logs and etc. Have you got any questions, James?
Yep, there's a few questions here for you, Erdal. There's a question from Daniel which asks, do you need to have a host operating system with VMware, or is it an operating system in its own right?
It is an operating system in its own, and this is exactly what it does. So it takes over BIOS, and this is where you manage your, this is basically, instead of BIOS, this is your operating system, which helps you to create your ESXi environment.
Thanks, Erdal. Another question here. Would you recommend using the vSphere client that's built into VMware Workstation?
Yeah, why not? I mean, as long as you connect, it has some, its own powers. I mean, nothing bad which I know about it. Yeah, why not?
As far as I'm aware, it's actually, I think these days, possibly more fully featured than the free vSphere client.
Definitely, yeah.
And better at handling hardware version 10, or can handle it at all. I'm not quite sure there was a problem for a while there. But
no, that's correct. I mean, of course, the free version versus paid version. The other day, I done a webinar to a vendor. I'm not going to mention the name. I was talking about the free version based on a question. They complained, oh, you know, after the webinar, why are you talking about the free version? You're supposed to promote the paid version. I said, hold on. You got the free version? Yes. So if people use the free version and like it, and they need more options, they will go ahead and buy the paid version anyway. But if you're a student and you have only 2 virtual machines, which really don't need any enterprise features, why go ahead and buy it? You know what I mean? So it is, for most of us, I know we have many people students join from enterprises as well. They work, they're IT professionals. So even for them, for the test environment, ESXi will do the job. But if you're talking about managing a business, ESXi is still good enough. But if you want the extra features, which we're going to talk later about it, then you have to buy it.
Cool. Thanks for that. One more question just for now. I've got a few more questions here, guys, but we'll have to save some till the end if that's all right, just to keep things going. How do you access the web client?
I think it was there. The web client has its URL, okay? Or what you can do is, just to show you here, as long as you know the host name, that's return the web client, sorry, it's here. You know the IP address or the URL, assuming you have a proper FQDN, frequently qualified domain name. You can just connect to the client, and the interface is like this.
Cool.
So first you have to set up your VM environment, then connect to it via client.
Thanks, Erdal.
No problem. I'm just coming to where I was. Okay. The DCUIE allows us to modify the network settings, and this is exactly a perfect question. Look, here's our IP address, our host name, and our DNS servers. As soon as you set it up, you can connect it via web client. So perfect timing of the question. I think we did talk about that as well. Yeah. Okay. What was NNTP again? NTP, not NNTP. The Network Time Protocol. What is it? It is a client-server protocol used to synchronize. James, can you please mute yourself? We can hear you typing.
Sure.
Used to synchronize a computer clock to a time reference. So, why is NNTP important? Because it will give you the accurate performance graphs. It will help you to have accurate timestamps in your log messages, as well as it helps you to have a source of synchronization with your virtual machines. With an ESXi host, you can still configure it up as we showed here. Okay? All what you have to do is set up your client. You might get it from the internet or from your local NNTP server. As usual, it is using the UDP 123 port, so you have to make sure that your firewall is enabled in this. For some reason, my CPU started to go really crazy. I hope you are not hearing the fan sound. I'm afraid that it's going to be in the recording. Anyway, I hope not. Let's see. Okay, now we just set up our networking, our computing power. What is left? If you don't have a proper main service infrastructure, you should set up your domain name service and routing. And this is to connecting not just for a web client, as well as for your DNS server to be able to help you to search your local domains, or where you can use the default virtual machine kernel gateway. Alright, what is the security profile? This is, first of all, for your remote access settings. On an ESXi host, remote clients are prevented from accessing services on the host. So, local clients are also prevented from accessing the services on a remote host, unless you configure it otherwise. Daemons will start and stop with the ESXi host, such as the DCUI or NNTP, but the rest, you have to go and set it up. If not, as you can guess, you can't connect into it for security reasons. Alright, what are the user account best practices? You should implement the following best practices based on VMware. First of all, a strict control read privileges on the ESXi host. Don't forget, ESXi host, it runs on BIOS. I mean, like a BIOS. As soon as you turn on your computer, it's connected to a monitor, you get a keyboard, you can control it. So make sure you have a strong password, like your BIOS password. And for better security, of course VMware is going to recommend you to use the vSphere client to manage the ESXi host. Ideally, you can use the vCenter server and those vCenter server user accounts to manage the host. And this is also a usually good exam topic. So demo. For the demo, to be honest, the screen resolution is really, really bad. I'm really not sure if you're going to see the demo. What? Sorry, we're not able to find the user. How did I get all the screenshots? There we go. So, when you go to, all what you have to do is go to your Bing and type VMware Labs. It will take you to holvmware.com or labs.holvmware.com. So VM, as soon as you type it, it will get you here, VM labs, https labs, vmware.com. I've done that already. Oops, not this one, that one. And from there, all what you have to do is connect with your email address, enroll, and then you can just select any labs you want. You should start with your beginners. All what you have to do is enroll to one of these courses. And once you enroll, I don't know what's going on here. It was just working. Alright, I can see it's working here because I enrolled to labs and I done already 7 labs to take the screenshots. So anyway, you got a video here which tells you how you can run it, okay? Enroll, and as soon as you enroll, you can just click and start the lab, but for me, for some reason, it probably logged me out, or the screen resolution is really not supported. You should be able to start the lab. Here we go. Now it works. But this is not the lab that I want.
Hi, Erdal.
Yes?
The message that's coming up there is it's actually asking you just to verify your email account.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I done it. That's where I took all the screenshots. I read the message. I really don't know what happened. If you don't mind, I'm going to continue. Instead of trying to do it, what I do is, I will try one more time. Hold on. What I did is, otherwise, I will do an offline demo and record it straight away. Let me upload it straight away. Because that's where I took my screenshots. I don't want to lose more time. I activated months ago when our CEO Martin sent me. It was activated 19 November. I just forwarded an email to double check it. If I activate it, then I was able to log in. Our CEO did send that email for me once ago. I'm not gonna scroll more down because then you can see my password. Anyway, guys, I can assure you I took all the screenshots from that lab environment. So I'm gonna try towards the end again, okay? So for now, all what I was gonna show you is connect to my ESXi, exactly vClass.local. So when you do it, you're gonna do the exact same thing. And from there, I was gonna go through this menu. In our virtual machines, you're gonna see it next. I was gonna create virtual machines. For my resource allocation, I was gonna allocate some resources. Don't worry, I'm gonna show you all this offline. But we can use our forms to ask your questions just in case you get stuck. Okay, what are virtual machines? The definition is exactly the same as Microsoft or Citrix or any other vendor. Virtual machines are the files that make up a virtual machine. So once you right-click, create a new virtual machine, then you can have your, you know what, for now, just to give you the idea, I know this is the workstation. I'm going to show you my VMware workstation. It's very similar. So you can just, I just downloaded it. For that's the latest version, VMware Workstation 11. You can come to devices and basically, as soon as you double click, you'll be able to change your RAM for more or less. You can add more processors depending on your power. I mean, my laptop doesn't have 16 processors. So, I don't know, finally it noticed it doesn't have 16. And you can just add, remove virtual machine resources. As soon as you start it, let's start my Windows 10. let it do the background. I will continue. So you can have a BIOS, log file, this is subscriber, data file, and the snapshot file. If the demo works, I'm going to show you very shortly. If not, you will watch it offline. Probably when I connect my secondary monitor, it's going to work. So displaying a virtual machines files. The only difference between workstation is installed in the local workstation, as you can guess, and that's my, let me just make it full screen. This is my Windows 10, just connecting to it. Even though it's still touch. Can you see my screen, James?
I can see your screen logging in.
Beautiful. Just double checking.
Although there's a box in the background that's now flickering quite a lot.
Box? I don't see any box.
One of the ones that's showing up in the larger picture-in-picture sort of view that's accidentally come up. Which obviously you won't be able to see.
Alright, here's my virtual environment. My virtual, if you remember, I have a different virtual Windows 10 client as well. So it's just loading up. So basically, it is allowing you to run multiple networks. You will see my hacking station here, Metasploitable Linux, which I'm preparing for my future hacking class. So you can just go add RAM, remove RAM. In the enterprise environment, it's a bit different. Instead of having it all right in front of you, you connect through the database maybe, and from there you will see all your virtual machines, all the files, and where it's been stored. Using the storage view tab, now I'm here, storage view tab. Remember we had our getting started performance. If you go to our storage view tabs, you will see all stored virtual machines, where in this case, which will help you to see what you have, the size, and you can even see where it's been stored. If you look in the VMware client option, it's similar. If you can see where the files been stored, where the ISOs are, or if you click the hard drive, you can just basically see the VM name. You can just go to advanced and play with all the options. You can just add, remove the locations. You can just defragment or expand the hard drive from here. Soon you're going to see it how you can do it from the enterprise environment as well. So, similar to the workstation, your virtual machine hardware is all connected via the emulators. You need a physical keyboard and mouse, physical CPU, RAM. The rest will be all virtualized for you. You can have one ID controller, up to 4 devices. You can have up to 10 NICs, 3D hardware, up to 1 terabyte of RAM, up to 64 CPUs or vCPUs, which is the virtual one or virtualized one. You can have 15 devices per adapter. You can have up to 4 SCSI adapters per virtual machine. You can even have floppy controller for 2 devices. And 1 USB controller up to 20 devices. To be honest, impressive. As soon as you do that, you will have your different versions, and each version has its own characteristics, which dictates the operating system functions that a virtual machine supports. Please keep in mind, it cannot be later than the version supported by a VMware product. And we have all the versions here, And of course, the 5.5 introduced the virtual hardware version 10, which requires the VMware vSphere web client. So some of them is going to force you to use the web client, as James mentioned 3 minutes ago as well. Alright, for a CPU memory, this has to be physical. Then it supports up to 64 vCPUs. Of course, it depends on the number of licensed CPUs as well. So you can't just have unlimited CPUs. This is depending on your licensing type as well. Again, if you remember, during the beginning of our course, I showed you the licensing tab as well. And I said, if you get stuck with anything, please check your licensing tab before you do anything else to confirm that you have the right to utilize, for example, 64 CPUs. And you can have up to 1 terabyte maximum memory size. Of course, it will depend on the amount of the memory what the guest operating system is told to have. The virtual disk, this is an example, 4 gigabyte one. It's stored in MyVMFS. The node is there, the details are there, and as we spoke last week, the file version is VMDK or VMDK, yeah, that's what I can say. Alright, the storage, you will have your data stores, your virtual disk. If it's thick, it's 20 gig. If it's, then you can have it thinner, bigger. Basic, you can have different sizes. Virtual machine disk usually consume only the amount of capacity needed to hold the current file. So even though you assigned 80 gig space, it will only use the 20 gig, which is being consumed by the guest operating system. A virtual machine will look into allocated disk size at all time, and VMware virtual machines are smart enough to use the provisioning automatically, depending on the mixed thick or thin format. And for that, of course, you have the full reporting as well as the alerts options. There you can set it up from the tab, which we're going to talk a little bit later. There are many different efficient storage utilization, like virtual disk allocation, 140 gig, available data storage, it's 100, use storage is 80, as you can see here. So you can have, this is just an example there, can be used in a different way, totally up to you. The NIC, I think by now we all know it's a network interface class, which enables us to connect to the world or to other operating systems. It is supporting many different options. VMware highly recommends you, and probably the exam question as well, whenever possible, choose the VMXNet 3 network adapter. It's flexible. It can function. As either VLANs or VMXNet adapter. It's called PCNet 32. It has the VLANs, which is also called PCNet 32, which can support up to 30-bit operating system. Now I open my emails. Let me close it down again. The E1000 or E1000E is the high-performance adapter available for only some guest operating system, so not all of them are supported, depending also on the operating system. Then we have the VMXNet, VMXNet 2, and VMX3, which are the VMware drivers that are only available with the VMware tools. So you have to install the VMware tools. And again, I'm repeating this second time. Whenever possible, choose VMXNet 3, as VMware is highly recommending that. The VMX 2, it's an enhanced adapter for enhanced performance, where the Net 3 builds on the VMXNet 2 adapter, and it's recommended to use. And of course, you have your CDs, virtual CDs, USBs, floppy disk, SCSIs, NICs, hard drives, where you can use. It supports NVIDIA, AMD, Intel graphical processing units as well. So it has lots of options where you can use. Alright, any question before I move to the console?
Yep. Brendan's got a question. He says, with regards to the hardware versions, the individual VM hardware versions, does that mean that a VMware image created on hardware version 8 will work in hardware version 10, but not the other way around?
That's what's there. So it all depends on the, usually, I'm talking about a specific version. Usually a new version will support the previous version, but not the, up to 2-3 back, but not the 5 old version. So it is usually supporting out of box the previous version, and the new version is usually aware of the previous version as well. So it's usually 1 plus, 1 minus plus. 1 plus plus 1 minus 1 without an issue.
So if you're running an ESXi host on hardware version 9, you can actually use that to administer VMs that are running hardware version 10?
Yes.
Alrighty, cool. That's good. He has one more question, which is, does VMware automatically shrink thin provision files if the data stored within it shrinks?
The answer is yes. And here, I think I had it somewhere here. I said you can, it's going to keep an eye, and it will help you, it will definitely, if it's within the limits, the answer is yes. It will look all the time. If not, you can set up let's say if it's not within the limits, instead of shrinking it automatically, you can set an alert which will send you an email. Good question, by the way. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for that. That's all for now.
All right. So what are the virtual machine console options? Now we are in a summary where you can power on, launch your console, and you will see the guest operating system there. It's very similar to the workstation. You can see your computer. You can see the VMs here. If you have any shared VM, you can see the mirror. Of course, the enterprise version doesn't have it in the upper tabs, but you can always go and play with the version. And as you can see here, the install VMware tools is not up to date. You can just press the button, install. So next time I don't have to press Control-Delete. I don't know if you remember, a few minutes ago I pressed Control-Delete because I didn't have probably the up-to-date VMware tools. And again, if you remember, when we were talking about Microsoft virtualization, James, can you please mute yourself? When we talked about Microsoft version, they had the same as well, which was the Hyper-V tools. So you can just click on the shortcut, install the VMware tools. Come on, touch yes. While this is installing, I'm going to move on with my slides. This is the web client, and this is the vSphere client itself. As you can see, they look very similar in terms of look and feel, but of course has more options. So for this, I'm going to record it. For some reason, if you remember, I couldn't log in here, but I will come back definitely to this demo, and I will record you an offline version and upload it to you as soon as possible. Okay, all is good, dear Erdal. What about virtual machines? How can we create a virtual machine? To be honest, it's not a rocket science. First of all, there are different methods to provisioning a virtual machine. You can use the visit, or you can import it via the virtual appliance. To use the visit, you have to click in the Create New Virtual Machine Visit, and it will take you through the installation steps. And here it is. In the client, you just go to the option, click New Virtual Machine or Control-N, where in the vSphere web client, you have to scroll down, press the plus icon there, and create a new virtual machine. And as you noticed, all the screenshots were taken for my lab environment where I can't connect now. Interesting. Alright, choosing the typical configuration. You can always leave the defaults, or you can have the information needed for a typical configuration. For example, you might have the virtual machine name, the inventory location, the data store, where your virtual machine files are stored, the guest operating system, the version, such as Windows 10, the disk parameters, where you can create the new disk, the size, the provisioning, if it's thick, thin, or mixed, and how many NICs you have assigned to it. Just to give you the idea, right-click, settings, and here is where you can add more RAM. Beautiful. I just added live, and as you notice, it's just applying straight away to the virtual machine. Should just come up very shortly. It didn't. Probably Windows 10 bug. In the meantime, I will just come here. So I can add more processor, hard disk space. I can disable the acceleration. I can create virtualization, Intel or AMD virtualization engine. I can use a different CPU performance counter to manage my OS. This should be back now. I don't know where the bug is, if it's a Windows bug or VMware bug. We will talk about it later. I will look into it later. Okay, what if you want to have a custom configuration? As you can guess, VMware does allow this as well. So basically, you can have other information needed, such as the virtual machine version, and currently it's version 10. The number of CPUs, the number of cores, as you just saw it in my VMware workstation here. The number of the NICs, SCSI type controller, the RDM, the raw device mapping basically, the disk provisioning settings, and the typical and custom configuration where you can edit the virtual machine or where you can attach an ISO image. If you remember, I done it with Microsoft last week. So this is the VMware workstation. You have the create virtual machine visit here. If you remember at Microsoft, we had generation 1, generation 2. This is the VMware, which has the, again, I'm not supposed to show you today the client, but just to give you an idea, at least I'm doing some demos. You will see the enterprise version in the recorded offline session. So please don't surprise, and please be aware, this is not in the exam. So I'm not going to ask you about VMware Workstation. It's going to be about ESXi and ESX itself, okay? This is just to give you the idea because it's very similar on ESX, which you're going to watch it later. So you can go to the advanced, as I just mentioned in my last slide, where you can select the compatible products. And as you can see, Workstation 11 supports up to Workstation 5X, not below. I think someone asked that question a few minutes ago. So it has the supported options here. It tells you what is supported. And based on the compatibility, it is also mentioning the limitations for you. Now I can go to typical. You can select the installer file. You can select the disk image file. In my case, I got Solaris. I got Windows. As you can see, I have many different operating systems. You can just say, hey, you know what, I want to install the operating system later. Okay, what is the operating system? If it's Windows, it tells you the whole options. I don't know if you noticed, with Windows, it doesn't tell you the R2 version yet. I guess it's going to be in the update which popped in me a few minutes ago. If it's Linux, it's smart enough. It asks you what kinds of Linux it is. With Novell, Solaris, VMware, ESXi, it tells you as well. And by the way, if you really want the vSphere for free, you can go and download the 2015 beta. I think you need some imitation where you can find it easily in your search engine. Or you can have your MS-DOS or different operating systems as well. Let's stick to Windows. In this case, it named it Windows 7 by itself. Even though I have a Windows, I didn't want to name it Windows 7. Where did it get the name? It did get it from here. And as you notice, they have Windows 10 here. I can just go select the location, the RAM, the hard disk, and I can always go and customize the hardware based on my needs. It's very similar here. You're going to see it right now. As soon as you start to install the operating system, I'm pretty sure most of you did forget, hey, what is that blue screen? This is how 2003 was looking like. I think I should mention it as well. If you're running Windows 2003 in your environment, please keep in mind, you have only 4 months left. June 15, 2015, Microsoft is stopping the support. Exactly what happened to XP. I mean, it has nothing to do with our topic. I just wanted to remind you. Okay.
I'll just butt in with one probably time-sensitive question.
Okay.
Evan's just asked a good question, which is, when you're setting up your VM, I think it was probably on the previous slide, when you're creating it in VMware and you choose which operating system you're going to be installing, what difference does that actually make?
It wasn't the slide, it wasn't demo. Okay, to be honest, it doesn't have any difference. It is smart allocation. So based on the choice, okay, like if you select 64-bit, it's going to allocate automatically 64-bit CPU space for you. And look, for now I'm going to select Windows 8, okay, just to answer the question. Usually it will select the minimum hard disk space or RAM size to run, like you don't. If you select Windows 8, it will automatically assign more memory than Windows MS-DOS. It's smart enough to allocate the right resources based on the template. This is what we call template, which I'm going to talk about it towards the end. I will have the definitions if I didn't hide it. If not, I will put some extra documentation. So it is using the template to make our life easier. By the way, my evaluation is ending in 339 days. Okay. Does it answer the question?
I think so. Thanks, Erdal.
No problem. Pleasure.
Just one other question while I've got you here. Jason has asked, what hardware can you add while the VM is already running?
To be honest, if you go to VMware website, they say you can add most of the hardware, but I added RAM. As you can see, my Windows crashed. Of course, this is not. This is a Windows 10 beta. Usually, I know you can just add RAM or change some hardware while it is running. To be honest, it's not the best time to ask. Usually, you can add RAM, hard disk space, network card. So most of the options are supported usually. But
so
again,
that's a good example, really. Windows 10.
Yeah.
VMware let Erdal add more RAM, but it comes down to sometimes whether the guest operating system actually is happy and can support live adding of resources.
Yes, I mean, I know Windows, perfect point. I know Windows usually is happy, but again, this is older build of Windows 10, to be honest. I did not upload it in my Surface. I'm running this presentation on Surface Pro 3, but if you go to my usual desktop machine which I run, which is my 32 gig RAM hard drive laptop, there I have the latest build, but as I'm traveling crazy these days, I have my and the other one is full Windows 10. I decided to run my Windows 8.1 because it has some issues with GoToWebinar. That's why I prefer to stick to this PC. But as you said, James, yes, definitely yes. It's still beta. It should not be used in a or in a production environment such as this one. Any other question?
That's it for now. Thanks.
No problem. So, I don't know if you noticed, it's very similar, the look and feel. So, the configuration type is going to help you to name your virtual machine, to save your inventory location, to have your data store. If you notice, I don't have a data store in my VMware workstation. This is going to my local hard drive or to my network storage or USB or external hard drive, as this is not enterprise software. Excuse me. Where the ESXi or ESX or vSphere is going to do that for you, where you can select your NICs, SCSI, RVM, and the rest. I think we stopped here last time. Let's continue. Alright, VMware tools, as you saw in my previous demo, you will have an icon saying, you know what, you need to update your VMware tools, otherwise you cannot able to manage the operating system efficiently. Same is with Hyper-V. You have to install the Hyper-V management tools, and usually the hypervisor operating system. It's either VMware, Citrix, or which one you use, will do it automatically. It will install the correct drivers for you to have the closest look and feel and work environment as possible to a physical machine. Alright, how can you deploy the OVF, which is a file format? Basically, you know, it runs an OVF file template. It's designed for a single purpose, for example, safe browser or firewall. And of course, it's available from the VMware website as virtual appliance in the virtual appliance marketplace. So all what you have to do is go to File, Deploy OVF Template, where you can select your templates and where you can have your review details, your folder names, where you can browse. Very similar option here. Very, very similar. By the way, I'm going to turn off the... Oh, it crashed totally, I think. Alright, I'm just going to turn on another virtual machine. Now I'm running my Windows 10. I'm not going to, sorry, Windows 2012. I'm not going to open the Metasploit because it has no GUI for you. It's all command line and it's not going to give you the same look and feel. So now, settings. And this is where we have our options. As I said, it has the guest isolation. It has some features out of the box for you there. And this is exactly where the location is and where the log files is. I don't know if you noticed, it's much easier to reach this out in the enterprise version. It is giving you all these options straight from the management panel. So, here are our templates. What are the templates doing? This is exactly what I was trying to answer a few minutes ago. The templates are master copy of virtual machines. It is there for you to use to create and provision a new virtual machine. Basically, the templates are an image that typically it's included in the operating system. Of course, not here. Here the template has nothing, just the configuration options. But if I create a new virtual machine from a template, I say this is going to be a Windows XP Home Edition. I don't know if you noticed. When I selected Windows 8, it was 60 gig. Now it's 40 gig. And it did change the options. Look, the RAM is 512. Now I'm going to cancel it. Create new again. This time I'm selecting. If this were the enterprise version, you could just map the ISO straight to the operating system and it will be installed automatically for you. But in this case, it's not. Now I'm selecting Windows 8. Do you notice it's 60 gig, not 40? And do you notice the RAM is 2 gig, not 512? So the template is basically having the pre-configuration settings for you. And in vSphere, all what you have to do is go to summary. Let's say this is the virtual machine template. From there, you go to, this is exactly the screenshot that you're going to see in this website. If I could log in. For some reason, please come and do definitely this one, the VM education. Even though this is the beta version, this is where I took my screenshot. So you're going to see all this lab. You're going to see all my screenshots are based on this lab here, because this is what we're covering for this course. And of course, I get some different screenshots from different locations as well. So the template is going to have my VMware version 5.5 standard edition straight there. And for my templates, I can go to my actions, where I turn it on, where I can migrate, clone the template, the virtual machine. What is the clone virtual machine doing? Of course, it's cloning the virtual machine. What is turning on, turning off doing? Of course, I don't think so I have to explain anything here. I know all of you are smart enough to understand all of this. I'm just double checking. I think they are quite easy to understand. So, how can you view the templates? Don't worry about the Workstation edition. In an Enterprise edition or Standard edition, you can use the VM and templates inventory view, or you can go to the option, relocate objects, and from there you can select the VM templates link. There, take you to the host and classes inventory view. So it will change the view from there. And here we go. Different view. To deploy a virtual machine, all what you have to do is right click, or do you see the arrow here? Once you click in the arrow, you can select a virtual machine. All what you have to do is you should provide the information as a virtual machine name, inventory location, host, Datastore, and guest operating system. It will open a very similar visit as in the Workstation. Here's the question. What is this tag for? Can anybody answer for me? I'm just coming here. Chat. Can somebody tell me what this tag for is? Maybe in the question box. No, of course not, Tim. 2 gig is not enough, but it's just for testing. Anybody wants to answer that question? What is the tag for? It's like Facebook tag. You tag people so they can see it. You tag virtual machines where you can go and find that virtual machine easier. You're going to say, hey, you got only 4. What is the deal about it? No. I done some training in a previous version before for DFAT in Australia. As you know, I just moved to Dubai. Currently, I'm located in Dubai for the last 2 months, but before that, I was located in Sydney, Australia, and I went many times to many different government organizations, and I can tell you, they have, if not tens and thousands virtual machines that runs all our e-government files, and it's been all managed either by Hyper-V or VMware, depends on the organization, or both. Of course, there might be some Oracle or Citrix, but to be honest, as it's not my expertise area, I did not see much, or they did not tell me much about it. How can you update a template? All what you have to do is go to the template file and convert the template to a virtual machine. To do that, select the Convert Virtual Machine tab. There, you can place your virtual machine on our selected network to prevent user access. Why do you need that? It could be a database where you just have read-only files. It could be a testing server where you have a malware, for example, to see how it functions, or it could be anything else depending on your network environment. A clone virtual machine will give you the option to have an exact copy of that virtual machine. And you can just clone a virtual machine straight away and power it. Depends on your options. And of course it will run if you remember at Microsoft we had the sysprep. You can have the sysprep environment inbuilt, which will clear the licensing and the unique IDs of that virtual machine to be new. Otherwise you're going to have two same virtual name and Windows is going to pop errors for you. Alright, James, are there any questions?
Yep. Can you import an OVF from VirtualBox?
Can I come back to this? I think you can, but I want to double check. I don't want to give you just an answer.
Yep. There's another question here. What does OVF actually stand for?
I'll tell you that in a second.
It's an open format, so I imagine it's open virtualization format. If I
something like
guess.
that, yeah.
Let me just double check. That's it. That's
got the next question. It's it's the open virtualization format. You're right. I think it is.
So that probably gives an insight into whether you can open an OVF from VirtualBox. The idea is it's supposed to be an open format to be used across multiple vendors, but then of course there's a caveat that the interoperability isn't always going to be fantastic, because VMDK, the virtual disk file that you'll have inside these things, is a very specifically VMware format, so I'm also not sure if
it's correct what they said.
One from VirtualBox would work. Does anyone in the audience know if you can share OVFs between virtualization providers?
I will get a proper answer for that, and to be honest I don't want to just give an answer, as I'm really not that sure, because OVF I use it as a file format. If anyone knows, if not, I will have the answer for you, because I'm curious myself now.
Yeah. Just one other question here from John. So fairly broad question, but about a good one about using VMware ESXi. John says he has a test environment. He needs a test environment like what he's using now in his organization. What's best in terms of costs and time for setting up a test environment for VMware?
Is it for studying or is it for enterprise or business?
Well, I suppose John's looking to emulate what he has at work. I guess in general that question could be answered in...
Okay, if it's for a real test environment, ESXi will do the job. It's free. But it comes with limited options, and that limited options we're going to cover next week, okay? Step by step. Where I cover Microsoft versus Hyper-V versus free versus paid. Sorry, Microsoft versus VMware, not Hyper-V. Microsoft versus VMware versus free versus paid version, okay? I have already some slides ready for next week. I'm going to answer this question next week, because I think I'm going to spend around 5 to 10 minutes there. I don't want to jump there, but if I don't answer this question next week, which is in the slides, because I prepped half of it already, you will see it there next week, okay? Please hang on for that.
Sure. Thanks.
Anything else?
We'll leave it at that just for now.
Okay. So, how can you modify a virtual machine? As you saw my VMware workstation, all what you have to do is basically go to the properties of the virtual machine and play with the options that you want to change. If it's a network adapter, for example, click Add. You can add a new network adapter, new hard disk. It's very similar here. You can just... now I have to install the tools again. I just installed 11 yesterday. While I was doing the preparation for this class, I said, 11 is out. Let me just install it. That's why I didn't play with it fully yet, because I had some other stuff to do. So that's exactly how you play with it. It's very similar. Look at the screenshot. This looks a bit more professional. You can change the RDM or target LAN or LAN, not RAM, or compatibility with. And you can always change the hard disk size. And as soon as you change it, if you remember, we've done it at Microsoft as well with Hyper-V demo, it will have the unallocated space where you can just right-click and allocate unused space to the C drive in this case. You can always inflate a thin provision disk. What is inflating? Basically, if you run out of space, you can just add via just right-clicking. As long as you can select the VMDK file, you can just inflate it. The virtual machine options, you can always go rename it. I think this has to be turned off. You can change the config file, location. You can modify. Let's say you had 2003, you did upgrade it to 2008. You can just go and select it's 2008 now. You can always lock the guest operating system when the last user disconnects. This way, you will have some extra security on it as well. Or you can go to the VM options and customize the button actions. Like if you don't want to see the shutdown button because you press on it mistakenly, you can just change it. You can select, okay, after power on, run the script for me to load, for example, the latest usage of CPU. You can just, for example, customize a WMI script. You can check the updates if there is any update. I told you that last week. To be honest, when it comes to updates and Microsoft environment, Microsoft is better. But in terms of updating the working environments such as RAM, hard disk, NIC, VMware is better. So it has a bit of both good options. Oops. This is the options again for the BIOS. Sorry for that mistake. I just noticed that the screenshot is not aligned. But at the background it says BIOS options, where you can delay power on, boot into BIOS, or have different options here again. Alright, here's a very, very important topic. Forget about the exam. Yes, it's maybe in the exam as well. I don't know, to be honest. I did not write the exam questions. Don't tell James yet, as James is pushing me hard to get the questions handed to him. So don't tell James. I hope he's not listening to me. James, you are not, right? Okay, what is a snapshot? Last week I showed you at Microsoft, and one of you did ask, what is that VHDM file, VHDMX file? Remember? So, and I told you the same thing. A virtual machine snapshot will enable you to preserve the state of the virtual machine so that you can return to the same state repeatedly. Let's say you installed an application and you are really not sure if this application is going to break your computer or not. Take a snapshot, try, if not, delete the snapshot, go back to the original state. So, think about your Windows. You install an application, okay? Let's say you install Metasploit. In Metasploit, you are really not sure. I know we are doing hacking here. You are really not sure if Metasploit is gonna crash with your Kaspersky, for example. What you can do is you can just take a snapshot, run them side by side. If something's going wrong, you can just go back to that original state. So you can make changes while testing software, and the snapshots will enable you to back out of those changes. So here's the question, and I bet I'm going to ask you this in the exam. I bet to myself, I hope I will not forget while I'm creating the question. Is a snapshot a backup? Let's see who's going to type. Is a snapshot a backup? No. Beautiful. I love the notes. Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Jason. And, hold on. Someone said yes. Tim. Thank you, Haran. A form of backup, Andrew. Daniel Jones. Tim, don't forget to type no. So please, in the exam, make sure you select no. Because a snapshot is not a backup. Yes, it does consist of a set of files, such as the memory state, the description, and the delta file. And here's the answer. The delta file. So the changes are there. It will keep track of the virtual machine snapshots if you want to see, but snapshots are not backups. This is supposed to be red. I don't know why it's red. White. So snapshots are not backups. You can take a snapshot easily while the virtual machine is powered on, powered off, or suspended. It will capture the state of the virtual machine, as we said here. Oops, where is it? As we said here, or here. But it will never, ever be a backup. I'm not going to cover this. This is the hidden files. So, step by step, explaining you what a baseline is, what a snapshot is, how you can delete it, what will happen if you delete it. So it will go to the previous state, and if you delete the previous state, it will go to the original state. What if you delete the original disk? Then these are useless because most of the files are stored here. And if this is 5 gig, snapshot is usually 1 gig. Snapshot of a snapshot could be 2 gig, but it will never ever have the whole file here. So, as I answered last week, the VHD file or VHDX file at Microsoft will have only the changes. That's why I went to VMware Education website as an academic member, and I took the slides to edit because I really liked it. So look, snapshot 2 gig, I deleted. The base disk is still not changing, it's staying 5 disk, okay? So you can look into this, probably as I covered it now, probably it's part of the exam now as well. Alright, what is a snapshot? Okay, before I go there, any questions? Any questions? I think...
None just now.
No questions? James?
No, not about snapshots just now.
Okay. About anything else?
No, we haven't had any questions in about 20 minutes.
Ooh.
So if there are any, we can go back to that at the end.
All right, the constellation.
Okay, Martin's just asked a question.
No, sorry, Martin, I'm not going to answer your question. No, just joking.
Is it correct that every delete puts the snapshot into the original file?
Look at this. Delete goes boom to the previous file. But it will not affect that because this is original already. If you take a snapshot, the VM will run here. If you delete the snapshot, the VM will go to the original state, which the answer is yes. Okay? It was a good question, to be honest. Many people get confused with that.
Yeah, the terminology around snapshots can be pretty confusing. Delete and revert. And
okay, here I'm doing this one more time. Perfect. Sorry. Sorry. Okay, here. That's the original hard disk. Okay. Now you take the snapshot, delta file. You take another snapshot of the snapshot. If you delete this, it will go to the original and this will come here. So this will not be deleted. So if you even delete like let's say you had 2 snapshots and you delete the previous one, the second snapshot will not be affected and the original will not be affected, where you're going to still be here unless you delete this as well. Now we are here. You delete this, you will go here. You delete that, you will go here. Does it make sense? So let's say you have a snapshot, you delete the after snapshot, you still be staying there.
And so when you say delete, is that when you've basically decided that you don't want to keep the changes that you've made since that snapshot?
Yes, and here's an example. Right click, snapshot, take snapshot. Call it demo 1. James, I did not write the exam question. Take snapshot. Now, we can go, I don't know if you see, it's called snapshot here, which was taken a few minutes ago. If I go to snapshot manager, you are here. Do you notice? Now I'm going to take one more snapshot. Oops. Take snapshot. Q and A. I did write the questions. Take snapshot. Now I got 2 snapshots. Okay? So I can clone a snapshot as well. No problem. I can clone the virtual machine in this state. So even if I delete these 2, because I cloned it, it will be there. Now, if I delete this one, I'm still going to be here. But this is not going to be affected. If I create another snapshot and delete, look from here, delete snapshot and children, which means anything after.
So that is to say, if you take that snapshot too, and then you install a program, a new service, and then you go, oh, that didn't work, and you click delete, and
yes.
then you essentially, it's as if you didn't perform that operation, you didn't install that program.
Yes. You can also have auto-protect.
Sorry?
You can have also auto-protect, which will automatically take some snapshots for you. But again, it will not replace the backup. Did it answer your question?
I think so.
I killed Windows 10. Alright, I will look into this later. Okay. Questions there? I can hear you typing. So, I showed you some snapshot management in my workstation. It's very similar in the enterprise version, but it's called consolidation. Snapshot consolidation is a method where you can commit a chain of snapshots to the original virtual machine when the snapshot manager shows that no snapshot exists, but the data files still remain on the Datastore. The consolidation is intended to resolve known issues with the snapshot management. And it works on the delta.vmdk file. What is the delta? The changes to the original file. And of course, every time you take a snapshot, it will continue to expand until the virtual machine runs out of the Datastore space. Here, you get the snapshots. You can just use the snapshot manager, and it will warn you, hey, you know what? You need some consolidation, which I don't have this here because it's not an enterprise version. You can select from here, snapshot, consolidate, and it will look into the virtual machine based on the constellation here, and it will consolidate it for you based on your settings. Again, I took the screenshots while I was doing that, but for some reason I can't connect. It's very easy. Seriously, it's all as in the screenshot. All what you have to do is revert, delete all. It's very similar to Workstation. Just another reminder, Workstation is not part of the exam. Please don't forget, okay? Any question?
Stuart has just asked, so does this work in the opposite way to Hyper-V? So in Hyper-V, the snapshot is never the live system, but on VMware, the live version is using the latest snapshot.
The answer is they work very, very similar. Here's Hyper-V. Let's create a snapshot here. When you come here, it will, it will be right underneath, okay? It's the same idea. I'm still creating the checkpoint, by the way. As soon as it's created, now it's ready. Then, even if you delete the snapshot, it's going to be the same. The idea is same. Nothing is changing in Hyper-V or in VMware. And probably you're going to notice with Hyper-V, I have my production environment, but with VMware, I don't, to be honest. That's why I was using the labs. Any questions?
No.
All right. Our IT Masters website is here. The new term is starting very soon, and we're going to have this VMware in full class. So you will not just learn, you will not just get your masters, you will also learn the current technologies. So not like many other schools. So we are giving you the core master subjects, which is part of the university. Also, we teach you the latest private sector needs, such as VMware, Hyper-V. And ITC 523 is the course that we're going to run this semester. If you're interested, please go to our website, which is csu.edu.au or itmasters.edu.au, and learn more about the courses. We have really helpful admin team. Neil, one of the directors in our admin team, he is really helpful, very responsive. You can always email us as well. We can give you lots of information about if you're eligible for masters or not. I had a few questions last week while I was in Qatar. I had some students live sitting with me while you were listening in a customer place, and they asked, can we join? Yes, you don't have to be an Australian citizen. You don't have to be in Australia. Hey, I'm the lecturer, one of the lecturers at least. Even I'm not in Australia. Yes, I'm a proud Aussie. I love Australia. Till that, I will do everything for Australia, but currently, I'm not in Australia. I could be anywhere in the world and still do my master's program. If you have any questions, again, all what you have to do is go to IT Masters or CSU website. This is our IT Masters, and you can keep up. As you can see, application is closing today, actually. The application is closing today. And class is going to start March 2. Or if you go to csu.edu.au, this is also our university website. I think I'm kicked out. I can't connect to the staff website anymore. James, do I still got my job? Do I still got my job?
I don't know. I'm not sure why you can't connect.
Something's wrong at the NS. This is the CSU website. If you come here, for example, ITC 523, I think.
just quickly, I've got two questions here, but I might they're both good questions. I wouldn't mind putting on the forum because they'd be good ones for people to answer there, if that's all right. Evan and Taran, there's a question about how do you do actual backups and not snapshots, which aren't
Can we talk
backups.
about it next week?
Yeah, and there's a question
I'll cover
about
backup next week.
peak provisioning.
I'll cover backup next week. That's why I'm saying can we cover backup next week. They have an Erdal version and some third parties as well which you can use. Okay? So both of the versions are available. If you are Twitter, something's wrong, I'm telling you, I can't even connect to Twitter. If you are Twitter, please don't forget to tweet how good or how bad the class was. We appreciate your feedback. All right, not Twitter. All right, my DNS is playing up again. So if you're Twitter, don't forget to hashtag myself or @myself or itmasters.edu.au. Don't forget to follow us. Don't forget to reach us out. On behalf of Charles Sturt University, IT Masters, James, and myself, thank you very much for watching the class. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, please remember, we have learn.itmasters.edu.au as our main form, and I will record some demos, and it will be available for you tomorrow, Australia time tomorrow. If you're in Dubai or anywhere in the world, probably you might get it today as well, depending on what time you're going to sleep. Thank you very much for watching, and we are looking forward to see you next week. So what are we going to cover next week? Next week we're going to cover Microsoft versus VMware, free versus paid virtualization software, backup, and the final exam. What is in the exam? I will put some questions up here. You will have one testing in the exam questions, and hopefully all of you are going to pass. If you read the slide deck, there is no way you can't pass. So it's open book. It's a good way to get the certificate. I don't know if you noticed, this week I used finally the new template by our university. James, would you like to add anything? Did I forget something?
No, sounds good to me.
Okay.
Any admin-related questions about the exam or anything we can cover next week?
All right, don't tell James, okay? The exam question is going to come as promised during the weekend, okay? So in front of everybody, James is not telling anything, but one-to-one says, oh, I want the exam question now, otherwise, see, he cut my access to the staff website already. And then I'm just joking. All right, James, and everybody else, thank you very much for joining. It was a pleasure having you here, and I'm looking forward to catch up with all of you next week. So I'm stopping the recording here. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask or reach the forums. Bye-bye.